Hey everybody, it's Eric with Garden Gate, and I don't know about you, but I just can't wait for it to be spring. It's been so cold here in Iowa in our Zone 5, and the other day I was at Trader Joe's and I came across these already like pre-potted, pre-forced bulbs, and they were a really good price. I think I got these hyacinths for like $4.99 and this little jar of mini daffodils for $5.99. So I just couldn't resist. I had to pick them up. Okay, I'm going to start with the hyacinths, and I've got a couple cache pots here. You'll notice that these both have drainage holes, which is good if, especially if you want to put this outside, which you could do in a mild climate or if it were a little bit warmer than it is here now. But essentially, I had pre-additioned these, and they both fit nicely. But I think I'm going to go with this more simpler pot because I really like its neutral tone, and it's just kind of clean lines at the same time. And you'll see how that just like sits right in there. Also makes it really easy. You could water this inside this pot if you have a tray underneath, or if you wanted to pull it out and water it in your sink and let it sit and drain before you put back in. You could do that. I'm basically just going to also just add a simple topper, one to hide the black of the liner pot, and just give it kind of a fresh, springy, natural look. I've got some reindeer moss here, which would be really nice, but I also have some just standard moss, which is a little bit more rustic looking maybe and fits the look of the pot. So let's try that. And I'm just going to carefully take some pieces and break them up so it doesn't look too clumped together. So I think this looks pretty good, and I might just leave it as is. But I did happen to also the other day when I was out shopping, I picked up some fresh cut stems of pussy willow, and you can see they're already starting to root, so they last quite a long time, after they've been cut. I'm just going to try a few of these in here and see what we think. You can also see that they're starting to open up, so over time these are all going to get these tiny little yellow flowers on the outside of those fuzzy buds. I actually kind of like the height that these stems add, and the nice thing is as the hyacinths bloom, they'll stretch and kind of fill this intermediate space here. So I think this will be really nice when it's in full bloom. Okay, next up I have these mini daffodils, and like I mentioned before, I'm not super keen on this glass container, but I have this nice vase that's kind of decorative, and I went out in the garage and found this pot from earlier this year that fits really nicely in here. It'll be really easy to take in and out to water it. Because this vase or pot doesn't have a drainage hole, I'm going to want to pull the whole planted piece out, water it in the sink, let it drain through, and then I can just put it back in here. Okay, so I'm ready to pot this up. I've got some extra soil here and a bowl to catch some stuff in while I'm planting. And like I said, I'm going to plant it in this liner that fits perfectly into the pot. I'm not real keen on this bright green moss that came with the planter, so I'm going to discard that. I'm just going to carefully shake this out of here and maybe get rid of a little bit more of that moss. This looks pretty good, so I'm not going to break it apart since it's holding together nice for us. I'm going to set it to the side for a minute and add a little bit of soil. Okay, I've put a little bit of soil into the pot, and I think that's about the right amount because I like how this sits high. Okay, I've got this repotted, and as you'll notice, I've left the bulbs exposed and kind of high in the pot because I'm going to tuck some moss around here, and that's perfectly fine for something like this. And it's ready to go into the pot. And it sits just really nice in there like that. Okay, let's top it with some moss. Okay, I think this one's done too, and I think this will look nice sitting on, like an end table or something in the house. So we got kind of two different looks. One's a little bit more formal and traditional. One's a little bit more rustic. I think just remember that these don't need a lot of water. Bulbs kind of like to be a little on the dry side, but you don't want to let them fully dry out. You can just check them, every few days. Maybe tuck your finger down in the moss and make sure that soil feels moist still, but not too wet. And just, add a little bit of water if it feels too dry, and you're good to go.